Production design is really doing incredible work. It kind of beggars the imagination what he's been able to do here.
The interior of the set is a bit of a fantasy, but we mixed it into the real scientific achievements of China in the 11th century. And in doing research, we found there was this amazing observatory built in China, which is actually in the shape of a pyramid.
The set sort of grew around the idea that it was a repository of knowledge. And so there's scientific equipment, there's medical equipment, there's history books, inventions.
All of these things that were created in the 11th century in China. If you'll look, you'll see the world's first seismograph, the world's first compass, early printing presses, a model of a water clock.
Strategist Wang keep this history of the Tao-Te, and he does that by using these scrolls that we made. They tell the progression and the story of how the Tao-Te came into existence, how they fought them, things that have happened.
The Tao-Te design could be seen in a lot of real objects done at that time. So we extrapolated that imagery out and we put it into moldings around the base of the steps, around pillars. The centerpiece of the set is a giant hand-carved wooden Tao-Te.
The Imperial Palace, 26 weeks of work to build that set. An enormous set. It's hugely elaborate and colorful and gilded.
What we feel would be a very accurate representation of Song Dynasty architecture. One item that might be a little different is the dragon carving behind the throne, which we actually took one panel and broke it into 3 to give it more dimension and make it more dramatic.
In Imperial China, the only one that could wear a dragon was the emperor. And the dragon on the emperor has to have 5 fingers. The director wanted this very young emperor to look like a walking jewel, overprotected by all his retinue. We hand embroidery, and then we hand applique with metallic coils, semi-precious stones. It looks good from afar, but if you look at it up close, you'll see that it's a labor of love. 18 hands on top of the costume, embroidering sections, then also applying more details on top of it. We did probably 50 sketches for the Crane Corps. Their costume is blue because when the Tao-Te looks at them, it was a way of camouflage with the blue sky. For every costume, we have about maybe 18 elements to it, and there's a reason for every decoration and ornament in every costume.
I think once we get Mayas's costumes in there and the lighting is put on, it's going to be pretty extraordinary, I think.
She's brilliant. Designed for an entire army. Hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of extras, all in full battle kit. It really sticks out. It's really impressive.
Our wall looks just like the Great Wall of China, but when the need arises, it transforms into a weapon itself. Crane rigs rise, the eagle nests come up, and trebuchets are there.
We basically made the very first floor like these giant turbines that powered all of these mechanisms. And you get up into the next level and you start seeing blade carts that send these blades outside the walls to cut off the Tao-Te's heads. You get up to the next level and you see trebuchets.
Generally, a trebuchet sits on the ground and operates on the ground. Ours are attached to the side of the wall and are fed from within the wall. They shoot cannonballs that are, 90 centimeters in diameter. They're huge. So we have gargantuan ones.
Going up, and we find the flying rigs, which are for the crane warriors, has a beautiful crane on the top. And when it opens up like a fan, the fan is almost like feathers. And on the very top floor, we have the eagle's nests that are down underground and then pull up.
Some of the weapons used by the Army are sort of beyond their time. They might be weapons that would be considered to be futuristic in their own time. We have large multi-fire crossbow machines that really look like huge, powerful cannons.
There's a machine with 4 bows on it and a mechanized system of firing repeatedly from magazines, hundreds of bolts per minute. It's based on a historical weapon. We've just made it much larger and to look more visually powerful so that it is more convincing that it could take down a beast like a Tate.
As their story progresses, the use of black powder gets more and more prominent. We start to see that they have explosive arrows and explosive grenades and spears with explosive weapons on it.
The Eagle Corps have explosive arrows, which are essentially like a stick of dynamite. Cylinders of bamboo packed tight with black powder with a fuse, and they're used in conjunction with the ignition device. The ignition device is located on the left wrist of the archer, so it's positioned so that at full draw, the fuse would connect with the ignition device, so that he doesn't have an extra move that he has to perform to light the fuse.
All of the weaponry on the wall is designed for each of the animal corps, and each of the weapons has characteristics of those animals, much like their costumes do.
The amount of talent and creativity and craftsmanship here is extraordinary.
Three, two, one, action!
Zhang Yimou is one of the best directors alive.
能和张艺谋导演合作是一个无法拒绝的事情。
What really makes me come running is a great director whose work that I've seen before.
We're all here for him. It's a great thing to be part of one of his visions.
I think everybody working on this film is a long-term admirer of Zhang Yimou and his long body of work.
And he's done some of the greatest movies to ever come out of China, from Raise the Red Lantern to House of Flying Daggers.
Miro, Curse of the Golden Flower.
One of the things that we wanted to do was to make a movie together. It was truly East and West.
And it is such a huge, huge film. And it does require so much, and it requires the ability to straddle the cultures and to tell a very Chinese story in a way an international audience will love it.
The challenge for us was combining traditional Chinese culture with Western filmmaking techniques, and Zhang Yimou was clearly the perfect director to achieve this.
His notes are great, you know. I get notes through a translator, but they're very specific and very clear, and the great directors are always very simple and clear with their direction.
And action!
He's very good at doing that thing that's so hard, and that is managing the huge set pieces as well as dealing with the actors, doing the little details.
我一直很清楚地记得，导演在片场一直会提醒我们一句话，就是当你内心有了，你的眼神一定有。
He paints on this spectacularly large canvas, and he does it in a way that nobody else does.
He really is the one person who can compose a visual experience of that magnitude.
Many years ago, Zhang Yimou tried to tell me that movie is just like a magic picture frame. Inside the frame, anything can happen. Use your imagination. Don't limit yourself and let go.
最后还是要得到一个电影所要的，给你这样的一种了不起的感觉，这就是电影。我们叫大银幕，对吧？这是大银幕艺术。
They look nervous. It's a big wall to be so nervous.
coordinate the visual effects out of Legendary offices here in LA. So every day we work together on the visual effects, refining them, working out what exactly we need to see in every shot, and gradually refining those shots to make them look more and more real. So Industrial Light and Magic, that's where we're sort of basing the majority of the work. But there are a number of other companies in the world that are working through ILM to achieve the scale of effects that we need to do on this film. 3 frames out of every 4 involve some kind of visual effects. So it is quite a challenge, and they're not easy visual effect shots.
I mean, we're sitting next to 300 shipping containers that basically created the largest outdoor green screen that I've ever seen.
The Great Wall in our movie is a lot bigger and taller and wider than the already very impressive real Great Wall. We created a fairly large stretch of wall to film everything on. Of course, that wall was not 100 feet high. It was about maybe 10 feet high. Pretty much any time you see that wall, we're both extending it down and extending it in both directions.
The Taotie they're not just a creation for the film, they are part of Chinese mythology.
But they're not the sort of creatures that have really been fully realized before. As with all creatures, you want to give it some kind of basis in reality and something that people can relate to. There's another thing where, we didn't want to make it look like any one particular animal. We explored, a lot of animals that can move relatively quickly. So a huge amount of work in this film went into developing very, very sophisticated crowd behavior, both for the soldiers and the creatures and for their interaction. We had to basically capture all these various actions, and that is statistically programmed so that all these people interact with each other in the right way, and so that's how thousands and thousands of soldiers are created from the few that we had as extras. Because the black powder is quite central to the plot of the film, the director really wanted to make it quite special. So we designed these weapons so that when they explode, they make kind of a donut-shaped explosion. And within the fog, this gives us quite a special sort of mix of the colors and gives us a very unusual event.
I think true epic adventure movies are becoming fewer and far between. The scope of the action, it's something beyond belief.
This is the biggest movie that I've ever been a part of. It's just awesome. We're shooting with some days with more than 500 extras in full battle gear, and they've been rehearsing for months. Among these hundreds of extras that we have, a lot of the stunts are being done by people that we recruited from the Shaolin Temple. They're just so talented and so brilliant to watch and so beautiful and graceful.
We'll work on that travel diagonal. Yeah.
There are a number of departments that are just really doing incredible work.
I think you're gonna look great doing that, Buster.
This set is one of the sets that really stood out for me, and it's gonna be on film for probably 18 seconds. And I have never been on a set that was this spectacular. Color out the grapes. You don't want your enemy to know you're getting old. We were really lucky that we got 𝐈𝐧𝐼𝐧𝐼 to be our consultant on this because he's just the greatest in the world. He's a real master. This is the second fastest archer in the world.
Here is. Second.
He gave me so much more than just archery. Just sitting and talking to him and spending time with him, and the steadiness that's in him, and the way that he is in the world was really helpful for me when I was figuring out how to play this character. It's challenging because stuff can take longer because you got a translation. That creative dialogue takes longer. But I expected coming in that we'd have a lot bigger problems. Like we'd show up on a set and people would go, well, that's not what we asked for at all, but there's been none of that. Oftentimes it's like little stuff and everybody just laughs and carries on.
We frankly pestered Matt for a long time and his folks about doing this, and there were some timing issues, and by some miracle it came together, and he has just been everything that you want him to be in a leading man. everybody associated with the movie says two things consistently. What an amazing actor, and what a fantastic person who's just, you know, a great guy and has elevated everything about it. So we're very, very fortunate to have Matt starring in this movie for us.
Work, everybody.